Hello everybody, Walter here. Welcome to episode 12 of my second Let's Play series for Oxygen Not Included. Now in the last episode we mostly concentrated on upgrading the quality of life of our dudes by improving their living quarters. And today I'd like to work on one of the last missing parts for a completely sustainable base, which is the tallow production. So with that said, it's time to get back into the game and have a look. On a side note, I'm also still recovering from a rather bad cold I caught recently and my voice is not entirely there yet again, so I may sound a little bit off occasionally. Anyway, we are here. So here we have our now private bedrooms, the upgraded kitchen and great hall, and over here our hospital and similar buildings. And yeah, now, as I said, I would like to work on tallow production, and for that I'm going to put down some ranches for those Spiggot Seals, which I think I'm going to squeeze in the area between this natural gas geyser here and the, I think it's a carbon dioxide vent over there. So, for that though to work, I will have to modify this thema here a little bit by moving this gas pump here over onto the other side, which will require a little bit of fiddling around, but is not overly complicated actually. And there we go. A little bit of the natural gas managed to leak out, but once that reaches the bottom of the base, it will be moved into storage anyway. Okay, next step is basically clearing out this entire area here, and we have a lot of mercury. Can I maybe melt that? Don't have any salt water in reserve. I should potentially... Yeah, set this here to 2.8 kilograms per second. So we get a bit of a reserve going again. And this here, 2.2 kilograms per second. Then we also have the brine further down, somewhere over here. 1419. That will be rather important as well pretty soon. And yeah, now the next step is simply digging out then this entire area. Yeah, if I do it like that, I'm not having anything at the top falling in. So just plainly digging out, you know what, just digging out all of this here except for the radioactive biome there. Step by step from the top down, of course not digging out that carbon dioxide geyser there. And what am I going to do with the spigot seals I uncover? I might as well put them just somewhere to store them for later, I guess. So yeah, as I said, the next step is a little bit boring. Just digging out all of this stuff over here. So about an hour later, we are halfway done here, and I'm really getting issues with major radiation sickness due to this crashed satellite, so I think I'm actually going to get rid of it to avoid that issue in the future. Now, we have a printable. Let's see, maybe we can get another dupe. Not that. Another cook, that might be actually a good idea. Not that one, and also not that one, I think. Although agriculture and husbandry. No, I'm going to grab a second cook. My first cook is rather busy already, so that might be a good idea for the near future. Yeah, definitely going to go with that one. Then, priorities. Let's go through that. Obviously, he's going to do the cooking and a little bit of tiddling and a life support. Let's go with standard stuff. Operating, talking, and that should be it. Schedule, he is going to be on the standard bionic dupe schedule, I guess. Skills, let's have a look. We have our cook, and he has already the booster, so let's see. Yeah, let's go with the increased athletics. What's with Sonia? Yeah, let's go with more athletics. That might be a pretty good idea. At some point I should get more boosters prepared, but that will have to wait a bit longer, I guess. Yeah, that is all looking pretty good. And the satellite is gone now. We are also starting to deodorize all of the good oxygen over here. That is also pretty good. Yeah, let's continue with digging all of this here out. So, here we go. All dug out. A little bit of cleanup left over, and we've officially reached half of a millennia for our colony, so it's definitely getting a bit old. But now I need to get some natural tiles in here for the bonbon trees. So let's use the trick I already used once in this playthrough with the hydroponic farms filled with glass. And then we need to go in. Yeah, that works out quite nicely. And in the layer below, which will be our first ranch, I just need 6. The rest will be required for other materials and buildings, to be more precise. So that's the 3rd range. Then we have the 4th one. 5th. 6th. And we even have space for a 7th one. That is very nice to see. Okay, now this area over here is completely lost, basically, so we can't really build anything in there, so we might be able to squeeze in just a few more bonbon trees for nectar production. Fits perfectly in there, even. Then let's... Ah, come on. This is not really that much of productivity gain down there, but whatever. Okay, now, these here will have to be built and then filled with glass, and we have those pipes in the way. You know what? Let's remove all of that and rebuild it somewhere over here. Maybe there. Let's see. Yep, that looks good. Then we will need once again our 12. Is it? Yeah. Come on. Okay, 12. Then an insulated tile out of ceramic. And then I'm just going to run that through all of this here. I should make sure this will not interfere with the tiles we are producing later. Oh. Yeah, okay, let's do it like that. Right. And then final drop off. Okay, that's looking pretty good already. So then we will need power supply for this one here. Just a couple smart batteries. And then a power transformer. A wire. And then just a bit of a floor in here. Okay, good. Let's get all of this here built first. And now we can start making some glass. So I've already set this valve here to 1 kilogram per second. And then I'm going to need about 15 rounds of glass for all of this here. And I will also need some additional glass later on. So let's say... I don't know what, let's make 50 rounds of glass. Should also increase the priority for this. Okay, good. Now, while this is all going, we might as well get started on the flooring. And for that, I'm going to need mesh tiles. So, basically, this here will be the future floor. There will be another one in this spot, obviously, later on. And this is part of the future wall. So, let's just get started on that. For now, going with an airflow tile here. And then I will repeat this later on once I can get rid of all of that for the ranch up there as well. So let's just quickly go through here. And then I can just go straight down. And then over here, we can actually just add pneumatic doors all the way down here. And then, do I need mesh tiles? Yeah, let's go with mesh tiles, just to kind of safe side. Good. Here I can keep the ladders. It's not really required to do anything else. And over here, we're going to have to add the mesh tiles as well. All the way over there. Can already get started with it. Just quickly go through this. And we are almost done with this part here. And then we're just going to add a simple floor down here. Maybe with a pneumatic door in there. We can reach all of this here. Going to deal with that at a later point. But for now, I'm going to concentrate on getting all of those mesh tiles here in place. And we're also going to have to get rid of the ladders on top of those farm types here. Same over there. Let's quickly get through these little modifications here. And you can see I also added another one over here. Since these here at the top layer will have a rather interesting function, but more about this once we're a bit further ahead. And I completely underestimated how much glass I'm going to need. Yeah, I had to order up a good bit more, which is going to take a bit longer. I also already put in an installation layer here at the top, since this is rather cold, and I will have to work with pips in here, and well, they would just freeze to death otherwise. Over here I also added the flooring, contrary to what I thought earlier, that is actually going to be needed. Okay, now this is going to take a little bit longer, so I might as well go ahead and dig up all of this here, and maybe even the spot over here. I'm not wasting too much time with my dupes idling around. So, here we go. This is now all dug out. In the meantime, I've also already removed all of the piping and the glass forge itself. I also have enough glass, or I should have enough glass at least. I think one of my dupes is currently carrying some around to make a glass floor here, or ceiling, depending on how you look at it. One there, then definitely a bit more here. Okay, that works out. And then I can keep this open for a moment. Put the normal tile there. I'm going to need a pneumatic door, maybe in this spot here, though. Okay, this is not looking pretty good. And now, I am going to do one thing. I'm going to disallow my dupes from going through this door here. And then I can empty the storage here. And that will make sure that dupes don't go from below and produce a glass tile below, but instead will go from above and produce the glass tile within the future floor here. And yeah, just going to continue with this all the way to the bottom there. And while I was working on that, I also already put in some storage bins filled with a corresponding amount of bombo tree seeds for later. And now it's actually time to get some of those planted. So I'm going to grab a pip, preferably one which is not going to die in the next few cycles. Yeah, let's go with that one. Let's relocate this over here. And then we are going to start actually in the middle somewhere. And I'm just going to put in a couple of these, although over here it doesn't really matter too much. And let's just go on the safe side here. Since we have the spacing with 2 in between, I can actually go in both directions at the same time. So I can start in the middle and then work my way in both directions. That should speed speed up the entire thing a little bit. So I can then deconstruct that. These are all 12 seeds I'm going to need over here. And then I'm just going to work my way down bit by bit until all of these here have been filled with wild bomber trees. And while I'm working on that, I should probably start cleaning up the top here. So I'm going to dig out all of this here for the moment, starting at the very top layer here, and just need to make sure I can actually reach that. And as I said, just work my way down until I have the stuff all lying right on top of this insulation layer here. Then I can mop this up or sweep it up, and then at some point, once all of this here is planted, I can also get rid of those insulated tiles again. But for the moment, time for the pip to plant some trees. And as usual, the pips are taking their time, but nevertheless, the top part here is now basically done. So time for some slight modifications. First of all, we're going to add some tiles, mesh tiles to be more precise, here. That will make sure that the bomber trees will destroy any kind of ice and snow which comes with the meteors that lands on this layer here. So I don't have to worry about getting rid of that manually or with some kind of automation. The same over here. And the big question is, how am I going to handle this area down here with the deodorizer? You know what? I'm just going to move the window tiles down here, and then all of this here will be a vacuum later on. So, yeah, just going to move the window tiles down and remove them just from the top there, since I don't have enough glass otherwise. And now we can automate the harvesting of the nectar via a couple pipes just running through the middle of the trees. Except for these ones here, those are just for the... Let's go one further. Those are just for the Spiggot Seals, so not meant for anything else. And kiln? What's with the kiln? Where the hell did the crushed ice come from? So it wasn't a meteor. Ah, okay. There was likely some crushed ice in there, and then whatever it was on melted away. Okay. So that not too much of it. Then let's connect these here, and I think I'm going to store it in this storage over here. So let's prepare that one. First, this will be the filter, and then we have our input over here, which means we need to switch food there as well. And this needs to be bridged. And this will be our input. Yep, looks good. And then, how do we want to do this? Let's just go over here. And then at some point I might have to insulate this, so I'm going with insulated pipes all the way over here to this spot there. Now this here is going to be for nectar at some point. Slightly lower priority than the nectar at the bottom. And valve is set. I need to prime this at some point once this is all built. But for the moment, I need to get those pipes here in place, and once this part here is done, I can then get rid of the ladder, clear all of this here out, and add the missing mesh tile at the top there. Okay, looks like I already set up one of those here for nectar a few episodes ago. I kind of forgot about that. That obviously means I need to make a few minor modifications here, so this will not be the connection for that one. So we need to make some minute modifications down here as well, which is the setup here. Then we go straight down, and in there need to disconnect here and here. And these here can also go, and that will be used for something else. Here I might as well prepare the other ones as I did already for the one at the bottom and the top now. Like, and this here And we might as well also prepare the outputs, which is this one here, and this one here, and this one there, and this one there, and finally, this one there. Okay, so that will have to be enough for this area. Over here, I already finished this up. So the next step is, for one, at the bottom here, adding a mesh tile. So sooner or later, my Spiggot Seals here will produce ethanol, which will collect down here, and at some point it will simply overflow and then be collected at the bottom of the base. So I'm not going to add a pump here for the moment. And then at the top, this whole area here will be in a vacuum, so I can now start to get rid of this insulation layer. And over here I will have to add some kind of liquid lock to keep the atmosphere inside my base. Just like this here. I also added a little bit of an overhang here, so the meteorites don't actually destroy the liquid lock. In the meantime, I have also moved my second bionic tube into their own schedule, which is a little bit ahead of the other one, since I got a couple problems with, well, one tube using the gunk extractor and then the other one using one of the normal lavatories, which, well, caused some issues, so now they should be staggered a little bit. Okay, this is still all being built. Someone should come by soon and move that over. So we're pretty much done here, so we can get started on setting up our ranches. So, going to need these in those spots here. Then under food we have our critter drop-offs. Then under shipping I'm going to grab some auto sweepers and I'm going to go with iron here. That is the first one. I have the second one on the other side. And then I need another one in the middle. There. Then conveyor loaders. So let's start with these here. This is for the two on the back. And then another one for the front. Oh, let's just move that over here. Now conveyor rails. Let's just connect them like that. Yeah, this doesn't cause any issues here. And this one there. And then I'm just going to... How do I want to do this? Let's go down here. That is, I think, the... doesn't really work that way. So we'll have to go through here. Okay, then for power. This is also pretty straightforward. Just going to connect them like that. And then over here, just going to connect like that, then I can get rid of this middle part there. Actually, let's beautify this a little bit more. Okay, then we still need to connect the conveyor rail to our setup over here. So let's see. This bed from the central part. This goes down here. So we could go through here. Maybe not through our setup there. I don't know. Let's just go over here. Why not? There's nothing going through here that should cause any issues, so... let's do it like that. That looks good. Okay. So, that is all of this here done. Now over here, we still need to set up another incubator. I'm going to need one of these here. And then this will connect down here. This one will connect over there. Then we are going to need more power. Like this here. Yeah, that should be all I need to do over here. And then I can set this up to get more Spiggot Seals. But for any of that, we need to get this here built. And also the last few Bombo trees planted. And voila! So the ranches are now basically done, which means we can start setting this up. So we are going to collect absolutely everything here. Move that into storage. And these here are going to be set to one critter. And that is going to be a Spiggot Seal pup. Then just going to copy quick. First, let's increase the priority to 7, and then I can copy this down to the other ones. That means I can now go over here. And for one, set this here to Spiggot Seal. 7. I should also copy this setting and maybe change the timing a little bit. Like that. And also get the critter drop off set up. And then I can collect all of this here and also wrangle all of these here, and that will automatically start filling these here up, and then they will get groomed. Although, at least for the moment, I should probably turn off the grooming stations until all of these here have actually sprouted and produced some nectar, or those Spiggot Seals here will very, very quickly die of starvation. And yeah, you can see we had a little bit of a meteor shower, and I had to do a little bit of digging since all of those tree branches here are not grown yet and will not remove the snow and ice around them. But at least the trunks already were working as intended, so this is all looking pretty good. Now, next up on the agenda is setting up our cooling for all of this here. So first of all, we're going to need the anti-entropy thermonullifier, and that needs hydrogen. So we're going to get a gas meter valve, put that in here. And now this takes 10 grams per second, which is what I'm going to set this here to. And then I'm going to need a thermosensor. Place that right here. Oh, let's actually place this on the other side. That might be a good idea. So, then connect the two. And that is going to basically turn this here on only if it's too cold. Or too warm, not cold enough. That way around, I meant. And then I just need to run the pipe from over here. Let's go one up, then over. Then bridge through here. And then go in there. So, that is the hydrogen done. Now we still need to distribute the cooling through all of this here, and I think for this I'm just going to run a simple cooling loop in this kind of area here. That should be sufficient, I think. So just going to run this. Come on. Do like this here, and then I'm going to just add a liquid bridge, let's say here. And once this is in place, I'm just going to fill this maybe with nectar, which means I should probably turn off this one here again. And yeah, then our tallow production is basically done, at least once we have all of those bombo trees here properly grown up. Now, while I'm here, I might as well talk about why I have 6 bombo trees per Spiggot Seal. Now, a domesticated one can handle 2 Spiggot Seals. Since I'm working with wild ones, I need 2 of those trees at least for 1 Spiggot Seal. Now I'm further using natural lighting, so those only grow at a reduced rate, and with the maximum light level on this map here being 10,000 lux, it basically halves the average productivity. So we are up to 4. Then we're losing another 10% to the glass tiles here, and another 20% since this middle part here, if you go to the light level here, you can see even if I'm using glass, it's still reducing the light level a bit further the more I go down. So we are losing at the maximum another 20%, so in total I do need around 5.5 trees. So with 6 trees I should be on the safe side. And yeah, that means I have a total 7 Spiggot Seals. That should be, I hope, enough for whatever I have planned on this map here. But for now, as I said, let's get our cooling system up and running. And the hydrogen is starting to flow as intended. Okay. Now let's see, how much nectar do we have? Not that much. You know what? Let's just connect this here with a bridge. And then, once these here start producing, they will automatically fill the cooling loop. Okay. So, we might want to actually add a couple temperature plates here, though. Out of, where is the granite? See, yeah, granite. So, that should be enough there. A bit of cleanup here. And one last thing I should do over here is add a couple ladders, and I have enough, so let's go with plastic ladders, since, well, my dupes will have to go up and down a lot, since there is just a single Spiggot Seal in each of those ranches here. So, yeah, that is definitely going to be important. I should also increase the priority for all of these here. Kind of forgot about this, apparently, at least in part. So, yeah, okay, let's finish with this build here. And with that now in place, we finally have our tallow production up and running, or at least in another 30 cycles or so, once all of those trees here are properly grown up. Yeah, now before we worry about that, a little word about the setup over here. I had to tweak this critter dropper here a little bit, since the Spiggot Seals kept jumping on top of the doors, but by moving over the critter sensor a bit and adding an airflow tile here, that apparently got fixed. So this now works apparently. So, we have a printable, so let's have a look. I think I have enough rancher and... yeah, no, not going to grab that one. Let's go for some food. Why not? And let's just move that into storage. Okay. So, now that we have tallow production in place, it's time for our industrial brick in this area here, but that is obviously something I'm going to continue in the next episode with. And that brings us to the actual end of this episode here. I hope you enjoyed it. Please like, share, and comment if you did so. It really helps the channel. In the end of that, I wish you a nice day, and well, see ya.